league ambition of becoming an NFL star didn't come true, but a full scholarship was a welcome relief. That year, they were on the verge of an unbeaten season, and everything depended on one game. The day before, the entire school was rooting for them, hoping for the magical undefeated streak. Game day was a wild journey of excitement, with kids yelling, "We're going to crush them," and "Undefeated, baby." However, there was always that lingering what if. To save this from turning into a football saga, they won 42-35. The celebrations went late into the night, and the euphoria lasted for the majority of the year, with invitations to parties pouring in. Now fast forward to the night of his near-death experience. An eerie feeling whispered in his ear, "James, don't go, stay home. You can skip one little party." Hindsight is 20/20ths, and he wishes he'd listened. But hey, he was a carefree 18-year-old at the time. Derek, the co-captain and a towering figure at 6'5" and 275 pounds, was renowned for his confrontational antics, especially when he had a little too much to drink. Playing mediator at parties had become a regular gig, and tonight was no exception. They arrived at the party late, only to be given things they definitely should have declined. Derek was in a fight with a stranger near the front door, ready to throw down. Despite his inner voice advising him to stay away, he threw caution to the wind and attempted to calm Derek down. Long story short, things got out of hand, and a scuffle broke out. They believed it was ended, but the guy returned with a vengeance, shooting both Derek and our storyteller. His girlfriend and companion were horrified as they watched the drama unfold from a distance. When the paramedics arrived, he felt as if his spirit was hovering above his body. He overheard them discussing his gunshot wounds and watched as they put him into the ambulance. As the ambulance sped away, he felt as if his spirit was hitching a ride. So, like in the ambulance, things became really serious. The paramedic was hustling, trying to keep this 18-year-old boy alive after he was wounded. The paramedic was all like, "Come on, kid, don't you dare die on me," and radioing the hospital. And our guy, seeing this insane spectacle, felt his soul or whatever racing down this light tunnel. It was like being swept up by a tornado, he thought. After sailing through the clouds and blinding light, he started comprehending what was going on. There was this lovely singing, as if angels were dropping a mixtape or something. He floated closer, and bam, there was Jesus. Two things struck him. He was dead, and he wanted to chill here. Our guy, being all religious, was like, "Yeah, Earth's depictions don't do you justice." The closest thing was this painting called Prince of Peace. Jesus dropped a bomb in his mind, saying, "Hey, James." It wasn't strange. It felt like they'd been friends forever. Jesus spilled the beans that he wasn't quite dead, but caught in between. In between what? Our guy mumbled. Turns out, his spirit was at a crossroads, and Jesus revealed that he could return to the grind if he wanted, because there were things that bound him to earthly existence. What if I stick around? He thought. Jesus spilled the celestial tea. You will hang with me and appear in heaven. What if I bounce back? He asked. With a smile, Jesus spoke the truth. You'll spread joy, especially to people who haven't even been born yet. Then, out of nowhere, 3 children appeared, calling him Dad. He informed Jesus he was ready to go back, and Jesus was fine with it. But he warned him about the changes on earth. They went through a life review, no judgment, just a look at the good, bad, and ugly times. It was a wild journey. So imagine this, after going through some serious stuff, this guy gets a glimpse of his future, and also what's in store for Earth. Because of his injuries, he's kissing his college scholarship goodbye, and ends up learning welding at a trade school. His girlfriend heads to a college in another state, causing a bit of a hiccup, but they eventually figure things out, tie the knot, and even have kids who miraculously popped up next to him and Jesus. Pretty wild, right? Now, Jesus, of all people, bricks the beans on Earth's future. Brace yourself. The Soviet Union collapses. There are terror strikes in the United States. And World War III begins when the Koreas decide to reunite, throwing the entire world into chaos. How terrible it gets is up in the air. So why would Jesus divulge all these future details? According to him, our guy needed a heads up for what's coming once he heads back. Suddenly, he's back in the ambulance, feeling the aftermath of a defibrillator, blood in his mouth, and pain from his injuries. Ouch. Hey, child. Welcome back. Don't try to talk or move. We're almost to the hospital. At the hospital, a crew of trauma doctors, surprised that he's still kicking, leaps into action. Recovery takes time, and while that happens, he sees the Soviet Union doing its thing, collapsing, just as Jesus predicted. Despite the fact that he loses his scholarship, reconciles with his DNK, and endures the agony of the 2001 terror attacks, he grows and strives to make amends with those he has wronged. The key question is, why did Jesus give him the scoop on the future? Forgiveness occurs, but some people suffer the repercussions. One even ends himself in prison. As the years pass, he and his wife thrive, and he still hopes to return to that celestial light. Sharing this odd story 31 years later gives him some relief and hope, making him feel there is a better place out there, overseen by a watchful Heavenly Father. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more like it, please subscribe, set on notifications, and join our team. Your support is invaluable, and we're thrilled to have you on board. Thank you for stopping by, and stay tuned for more fantastic content. Story number 2. Nurse dies of illness, experiences infinite reality, and learns why we're here. Thank you for joining us today. We'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to the community. Lately, something wonderful has been happening in the comments. Many of you are helping each other through grief, and it warms our hearts to see this community coming together. That's why we've partnered with today's sponsor, BetterHelp, the world's leading online therapy platform. BetterHelp connects people with licensed therapists trained to listen and provide valuable, unbiased advice. They can help with various issues such as feeling sad, losing a loved one, worrying too much, relationship problems, tough experiences, and more. By using the link in the video description, you not only support this channel, but also get 10% off the first month of therapy with BetterHelp. You have the freedom to communicate the way you prefer, whether through texting, calling, or video chats. A therapist will be matched with you within 48 hours or less, and you can schedule sessions at your convenience, even changing therapists at no extra cost. If someone you know has lost a loved one or is facing a tough time, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description for a 10% discount on the first month of therapy. She passed away at home in her bed, which surprised her because she had previously worked in intensive care and had always assumed that people died in hospitals or hospices. She recalls feeling the weight of her body and sensing her life energy draining away. It was as if a heavy burden rested on her chest, pressing down firmly. She focused on her breathing, wondering if it was as crucial as people believed. She pushed this weight away and allowed it to fall repeatedly until she decided to stop. In that moment, she realized that stopping might mean her death. But she wasn't afraid. She released her breath and her initi. As she neared the end of her breaths, she felt a brilliant light on her forehead, which grew brighter and brighter until it completely surrounded her, but in a comforting way. She had no idea her nervous system could produce such a sound, which sounded like a gentle hum. She allowed herself to be embraced by this light, which radiated warmth and comfort rather than blinding her, and she experienced feelings of love and peace. After that, she found herself floating above her room, watching her husband in the kitchen. Her husband knew she was seriously ill, but he wasn't fully aware of how serious it was. She hoped that he would be fine, eventually finding love and stop. She was 29 years old at the time, and she had never heard of a near-death experience or heard anyone else's stories about it. Then, there was another presence waiting for her, not a family member, but someone whose role it was to guide her through her life review. They began going through her life review, not every single moment, but the important ones, when she acted from her heart, and when she acted from her ego. The first time after the life review, she entered a different place, a dark one, but not entirely without light, as if even a small amount of light would be out of place there. 4 souls guided her through another experience, during which it seemed like they gave her a download of information she would need someday. This was a quiet and sacred moment, like receiving knowledge without words but by being given a box of understanding. She felt a responsibility to do something meaningful. When the download was finished, she felt like she had a better understanding of herself and their shared purpose. Then, she felt a deep sense of unity with everyone, filled with love, a sense of reality without limits, endless love, boundless joy, and boundless peace. Time didn't seem to matter. It felt like hundreds or even thousands of years had passed. However, she became distracted, like a stray thought outside of this unity. She noticed a light and a being coming closer. At that critical moment, she went through a profound shedding of every part of her identity as Moto. It was as if her sense of self, her interests, and all her past experiences gradually faded away, revealing the core of her being. A limitless soul, harmoniously connected to the entire universe, immersed in the purest essence of love, joy, and peace. This incredible revelation marked the beginning of a deep and awe-inspiring transformation. She was called back to the physical world for a higher purpose, to help and uplift those in need. And she initially resisted this call, possibly because she didn't want to leave the amazing state of unity and happiness she had felt. This voice, which didn't use ordinary human words, but instead resonated in her mind like intricate thoughts, conveyed a clear message. It wasn't her time to stay in that extraordinary place. Returning to her physical body was not something she could do on her own. She felt a tremendous force guiding her back from the spiritual realm to the world of the living. Suddenly, she was back in her earthly body, feeling the agony and trials of life, but definitely living. Sharing this incredible experience with her husband was difficult. The depth of the experience made it difficult to explain and understand completely. She struggled with doubts and worries, afraid that others would see her as strange for telling such an extraordinary story. But with time, she began to realize the profound importance of sharing this message with the world. This realization marked the end of a journey not only of personal transformation but also of enlightenment, and it became a source of hope and inspiration for anyone who heard her story, demonstrating the enormous potential within each of us to transcend our